drag you back into prison, that's right.
Welcome back to What Have You. I'm Rachel Jankovic.
I'm Becca Merkel.
And here we are in the morning.
Together.
And my hair is
two.
wet. I have no makeup on, but it doesn't matter because we won't be seeing nobody today. Except we drove through Starbucks and apparently the guy who helped us, we
knew him.
We knew him, so...
He's an NSA student.
You know,
So
alack, the quarantine failed us in this driving around time.
Oh, man. So, here we are.
Yeah, we are all out
In the
here.
midst of the weird times.
I thought one of my favorite memes, let's say the favorite memes you've seen so far. I loved the one that was like, it's only quarantine if it comes from a specific region in France. Otherwise, it's just sparkling isolation.
Yeah, that was a good
I
one.
was like, that's good, it's good.
Oh, I coughed. I keep thinking every time if I have a little cough, you feel like, uh-oh, I'm public enemy number one.
When I was in the grocery store and it's like I didn't even need to cough. You just have to clear your throat. And you feel like you need to make a public service announcement that you are not ill. Also, there were a large group of people in masks, and traditionally the only people here that wear masks are exchange students, where that's a cultural thing that you do is wear a mask. But so that happens year round.
Yeah.
But when I left the kids in the car when I ran in, and when I came out, Moses, who's my youngest, said, "Mom, I saw like 14 Scottish people." I was like, "Scottish?" And I said, "How did you know?" And he said, "They were wearing masks." I'm pretty sure it was not a big group of Scots people out in masks, but who am I to argue with my 4-year-old?
Maybe they had blue faces, and that was how he could tell. Painted blue with a mask on.
Yeah,
maybe.
the pics were out in force at the window. Well, I think he just felt like I definitely saw something unique happening there. There was a large group of people in masks, but why the Scottish is what struck him, killed me.
Oh, man. So we are, everybody's having weird times, but here in Moscow, we
like to think we're having the weirdest of them all in Moscow. No, it's not true.
So far, there are no confirmed cases in our county yet. There's a growing
There's a lot
number.
of people who've been tested, I think, and we
but
don't know yet.
No, because we have to send it away to Boise to find out. But anyhow,
and you're not sure if they'll have time in Boise to check.
31 people in the state that have confirmed it, and the closest confirmed cases are like 2 counties over.
No, there's Kootenai County. That's not so far, is it?
It's 2 counties over.
Kootenai's 2 counties away?
But anyway, then
where is it anyways? Is it up by Kootenai, up in Sandpoint or that area?
Yeah, up north.
Yeah, I didn't realize it was 2 counties away. That's okay.
Anyway, I don't know. We'd have to get on a map, but that sounds tedious. I know that
I was really shocked
you
when
don't go straight from
when
Layton
I
to
looked
Kootenai.
at a picture of Idaho with the counties lit up where there are active cases. I was really stunned to see that we have no active cases happening in the Frank Church Wilderness of No Return.
Actually, Rach,
there's no roads. There's no hope of getting in there.
We were just down there we drove around that, last week or something. We drove down to Boise, then we drove up 4 hours into the mountains to this little town called Chalice, which I will also say they still had toilet paper in the stores. Then
Nobody's panicking in Chalice.
Not yet, anyway. Well, that was a week or 10 days ago. But we were about halfway up the state again, by the time we went up. But there was no way to get home from that without going all the way back to Boise and then coming back up again. So it was
you can't cross the wilderness of no return.
No, we could have gone over into Montana.
If only
and
you
come
were
back
eagles.
Around that way.
If only you were eagles and you could have
been
just soared
fine.
above the Frank Church Wilderness of No Return.
But I'm just here to say that the Wilderness of No Return is quite large, and we saw, 70 trillion elk just strolling about casually.
Something like that.
Yeah. Anyhow, so what I'm saying is we don't have any cases locally that are confirmed, although there are some question marks, but The city council shut everything down yesterday, so...
We really are in that. There's some deep belief in our city council that we're getting ahead on the big thing that's happening. But it's very weird since it is not, like, literally at this point, no one in Moscow is a confirmed case.
No,
but you can't go into regular stores, restaurants can't, you know.
So it's
And
unusual
we'll find out.
time.
We'll find out later if this aggressive leadership did something for us, or if it didn't.
Or if they just threw grass in our hair just to be mean.
Just because, why not shut down businesses if you have an excuse of a reason to think about it?
Or maybe we got peer pressured by the other cities that are shutting
Well,
down.
I saw somebody said this, and I felt that there was some real truth there, is that whoever is making the orders to shut down businesses ought to not be being paid in that same interval.
Sure.
Do you know what I mean? Like city officials that are just like, well, you can't have your restaurant right now.
Oh, man.
They ought to not be getting their paycheck for the same duration of time that they are shutting
Well,
other people down.
I do think no matter where you're living right now, this is one of the unique features, is that this really is a global
I
thing.
know. It's been so
we're
strange.
all kind of having the same questions all together, but I feel like this is a great time, everybody,
To be a Christian?
to be a Christian and to
Yeah.
actually have a moment of, let's go ahead and practice what we preach. How about that?
Well, okay, I was just talking with some friends, interesting global friends on WhatsApp about this this morning, and one of the things that we were talking about is every once in a while I will get and they will also, I assume many Christians get this, someone being like, it's really interesting how you always think about being a Christian. And you're like, what? Like, and the point being that for some people it's really bizarre that one of the first things on your mind is God in situations. So the example that one of my friends was using was sort of like her husband talking to someone saying, you know, when they're driving past a field of canola and the whole family is just sort of marveling at what God did there. And that somebody came and asked them, like, but how do you do that? Like, how do you...
Was this person a Christian?
Yeah, it's just that many Christians live a really deeply compartmentalized faith, where they think, like, if you ask me this particular question, do I believe that Jesus is the Son of God? I'm like, yes, I believe that, but it's kind of like if someone said, do you believe that Providence is the capital of Rhode Island? And you're like, yes, but every day when you're driving around, you're not saying, look at the capital of Rhode Island's influence on this moment. You know, look at the reality of that in this, you know, and that would be, they think of it as being something you know to be true, but that it stays in a category of knowledge that is not all over your life.
Sure.
When the reality, it's not that Christians who think about God all the time it's not about us having an incredibly deep knowledge of a really limited, field of knowledge.
Okay.
It's that God is in everything and everywhere, and that God is so big that you can't help but see him
And the thing is
in everything.
The governmental leaders, big and small, are dithering about quite a lot. But the question is, who is actually in control of this virus? Who actually knows everything there is to know about it? And who is commanding the situation? And it's very funny because the thing is you think, how many massive empires has God brought to their knees before? And it takes, as we're seeing, not a lot to do that.
A virus is enough to, but the interesting
rumors of a virus.
Rumors
That's
of
the
war.
thing.
War and rumors of war, or viruses and
In
rumors
our case,
of virus.
nobody is going down with the virus now in
Nate
Moscow.
and I were laughing that maybe the best social distancing would be social media distancing. Like, maybe what we should all do is put a quarantine on our thoughts.
Well,
Stop transmitting them one to another so rapidly.
But the thing is like, what do we actually believe about this? Is God in control of this virus, or is he not? Or is he kind of like the Moscow City Council that's having a panic attack?
Like, is he running along behind the rapid progression of the virus, yelling at everyone to wash their hands better?
Right.
No, he is not.
No.
Like, he is sovereign. He knows what he is about.
And he's using this in our nation. And let's just, like, pray that it yields an amazing fruit, honestly. He's certainly got everybody's attention right now.
Well, and there's a wonderful thing about people having to take a little look-see at how fragile the things that we've been given are, how fragile life is, how fragile
the economy
is fragile, and that your life as you knew it for a long time that didn't seem really able to be seem available to just sort of unsettle the whole thing at one time. But man, something really little can do that.
Yeah. And the thing is, I guess there's a lot of waves, a lot of choppy waves out there. But do we believe that Jesus is in the boat with us or not?
Turns out, guys, we do.
And so...
And do we believe that makes an actual difference on how you see the waves?
Right. And should you be running around with your hair on fire in the privacy of your living room?
And the answer to let me fill in for you that the answer for that is no, you should not be doing that.
No, this is the time for us to actually act like we believe what we say, that God is sovereign.
Think about the fact that what Scripture says, that what people should ask you is the reason for the hope that is in you. And if you are at home nurturing your little seedlings of despair and sadness over the whole situation, or fear and anxiety or whatever, that who's going to ask you how you got all that hope growing? Because it isn't growing, because you're not doing that.
You're farming a different crop.
Right. So the concept is let's farm the correct things that are actually only possible in the hope of Christ and the gospel, and like that we know that God knows what he is about.
Yeah. And our job is to behave like Christians
and to glorify him in that, and to be not at all...
And pray for our country, pray for our leaders, pray for your family, do all of that stuff.
But do it... Not just pray for... Just going to throw this out there. Pray for repentance.
Yeah.
Because, if you think as a Christian, and this is interesting. There's a lot of deep, deep wickedness in our country.
Yep.
Let's just take one quick example. We have all of the abortion bloodshed on our hands. We also have, in every little city that is now quarantining itself and wringing its hands, we have had pride parades. We have been defiant. We have been all kinds of things. We're not praying that God will just spare us from this, but that he will use this for a time of great revival and reformation. And if God was going to use a virus that sickened many and killed many and made things very difficult for us, to call his people to repentance, that should delight us to think of his purposes bringing about his purposes.
And pray that we wouldn't
that we want to be, and that we wouldn't be cowards in the face of God moving in people's hearts. And one of my friends mentioned that they've never had people so willing to talk about the big questions, because this has made people come screeching to a stop. This is a stick in the spokes of your bike.
My high school kids were talking about how this is really weird, but they were like, this is the first time that they've experienced where you just start talking to strangers and you don't actually have to intro the subject. We all know what we're talking about. They went skiing the other day, and so they're going up a ski lift with some random guy, and he was like, so is your school shut down yet? It's just that. Or my daughter was getting spices in Winco. I sent her down to grab some of the bulk spices, and she was like, yeah. And just the grocery guy started going off about everybody freaking out about hygiene, but using the spoons and putting them in the wrong place for the bulk spices. She's like, and you don't have to intro
explain
it with what are we talking about right now? It's on the front burner for everybody.
I've also been seeing people who are living their entire social life for the week at Winco at the grocery store. There was a girl, a youngish girl, probably a college student, who's had her everything canceled and is now just at home, you know, in the apple department.
Okay.
Of Winco.
Yeah.
Sometimes I buy 40-pound boxes of apples. Like, if it's a good price and it's whatever, I'll just get a whole box. Right now, I feel like that makes me look like too much of a prepper, so I was just putting them in a bag. But I'm grabbing 2 apples at a time to fill the bag up. I do not have time to whiffle through the whole crate of apples to check if it looks lush, because we're eating those at our house 9 at a time. You know what I mean? Like, so there's just we're just gonna put them in a bag is what I'm gonna do. Anyways, she turns to me and she's just like, well, I've just been thinking, how did we get so many varieties of apples? And I looked at her like, what? Like, is this really the first time? And she said, and I got up this morning. And this is really odd from someone in this college age group to just feel like we have to talk. We're both in the apples. And she said, she was like, and I just got up this morning and I was just like, why have I never tasted any apples other than Red Delicious? And I was like, you've only eaten Red Delicious apples? She's like, it's the only kind I've ever bought and it's the only kind I've ever eaten. And I thought, where have
really
you been
sad.
in your... Well, but then I thought, well,
Delicious.
the Lord just used a virus to get this girl out to find out about apples. Because I was like, well, you should. And she was taking one of each of all these different... She was sorting through all the Honey Crisps, trying to figure out. And I was like, well, you are in for a good surprise because apples are a lot more than Red Delicious.
Yeah.
And she was like, oh... interesting. And I thought that was so odd, but it was also so odd that, like, I thought that was a really cute thing that she was doing, but it also was just so odd that that was happening.
Yeah.
Like, that I was there to talk with someone who was like, I have got to find out about what I don't know about apples.
Yeah. And I don't know. I just think let's just pray that America does not behave like Egypt in the face of a
hardening our heart,
the hardening
more
of
and
the
more.
hearts, the digging down, doubling down, refusing to, like, there's a lot of Christian heritage in this country, and I've just been praying that this scare will just turn people back to Jesus.
Can I bring
you
up?
know?
I want to bring up a point that's been tickling me a little bit, and that is the funniness of just a second ago, like the off messaging of some of the things we were all proclaiming to one another just a hot second ago.
Oh, I know.
Because all the self-love stuff that is like, you do what you need to do to make you happy, and whatever, however it makes other people uncomfortable, doesn't matter at all. And now everyone's like, no, wash your hands, stay in your house, you can't do that. And like Glennon Doyle, even with her one that was like, it was like, it was some, I don't know, it was some dumb, you know, do whatever you want to do. But it was like, and let the world burn. Like, those are things that are only said by people who don't think the world can burn.
Well, Dad and I were totally dying because we were watching a show. I think it was like on Amazon. And no, it couldn't have been Amazon because maybe it was Netflix. I don't know what it was. Why would there be a commercial? I don't know. Whatever it was. The commercial that comes on was clearly not up to the minute because it was like, sports never sleep. And they kept playing it over and over.
Never. We won't stop for nothing.
And it was all about we, the sportscasters, also never sleep because sports never sleep.
I think the other day
and
Luke was like, the only sport that happened in the world was a Russian soccer game or something. Like, everybody was like, I don't even know what to look at right now. There's no sport. And I have a friend.
I'm going to have to go down to the Apple department.
You have to see the beauty in some of this. There was a friend who said that she's never seen their neighborhood with so many children outside. Like, that there are children living in their neighborhood that they've never seen because they're always either in school or on their way to a sporting event.
Yeah.
But they're never just loitering in their own yard. And it was like, you have to say there's something pretty cute happening alongside. Like,
I don't know.
I had a couple of girls, I had a couple of my girls who spent some time the other day knitting down on the side of the hill bird watching. And I felt like, well, We've come to a new place when knitting and bird watching
See,
is one of
I
your
feel like, okay,
weekday
both
activities.
knitting and bird watching is more profitable than Facebook fear mongering.
Well, to say, oh my word.
So think of like how much time do you have over the next however long this is going to be? I know, at least for me, I have 1 week off of school, and after that I do not know what happens. But I have this week, and I was just praying this morning that God would let this be like the double bounce on the trampoline.
Yeah,
Where you just like, what can I...
And here I go!
yeah, where like I can just get a double bounce off of that thing and get more done. And how many hours could we spend gloom and dooming hovered over our little blue light phones, having
it's just so bad,
reading
isn't it?
all of the differing
Worse and worser projections.
Well, the people who deny it and the people who hate the people
I
who
think
deny
probably
it.
the
And
most
then the people-
interesting thing is that there is no, that experts disagree. And that in the absence of any kind of social trust between one political faction to another, it's very difficult to get a handle on what even is happening. And I think that's why we were talking about that the data that every Christian needs to know and remember is the data that God is in control, and that God told you not to be fearful and not to worry, and that God wants us glorifying Him and working hard and being joyful and realizing that the joy of the Lord is your strength, not your hand washing, not your all the other nonsense.
No.
It's like rejoice in your place, which is in God's hands.
And not a hair falls to the ground. Like
There's
God,
another data. God knows.
not
every
a hair. The
every
sparrow falls
last
to the ground. I'm
not a hair.
conflating
He knows the number of the hairs
and
on your head.
It's true that not a
It's
hair
true that
falls
not a hair
to the
falls
ground.
to the ground.
But
Also, no eyelashes.
I
You'll
was-
be lost.
I was having a little mashup moment there.
I like how I rolled right past it.
I know.
I was like, whatever.
Well, it's
that
true.
sounds.
It's
that
true.
sounds biblical.
I know. So I would just say, like, what are the places where you might be tempted? One would be to
Oh, I know one.
blow the whole time on...
Since I have another suggestion of a way you could blow this time.
Okay, how?
And that is to go ahead and let any seeds of unrighteousness in your marriage come to full bloom.
Oh, geez,
I actually know that pastors are more swamped than ever with the problems people haven't been dealing with because
really?
Because it's a
Probably.
real time of reckoning. Like now you're just at home together. Now you just can't keep, the schedule is not keeping you apart anymore. You're just have to notice that.
No, and you could clean house, but you could clean house in your heart. That's a good way to
wash
spend the time.
instead of washing your hands compulsively, like check your heart.
Check
Yeah.
your heart. But then the thing is
But then the world is still very
beautiful.
with so many gifts and so much to be grateful for.
That's-
So much.
I feel like gratitude is a really important piece of this. You have so much to thank God for right now. And you might have a worry about your toilet paper supply. But
You'll be all right.
how much do you have to thank God for?
Running water,
Your toilet.
toilet.
There's a lot.
I remember that as a little kid having a bad pain somewhere. I don't know where, but I remember standing in front of the mirror with this bad pain. I feel like it was probably like my fingernail or something. It was like a sharp pain, you know what I mean? Like where it's really bothering you. And I remember just standing there and thinking like, my elbow doesn't hurt. Like my elbow's fine. My back is fine. My feet are fine. Actually, now that I say my feet are fine, I'm pretty sure it was a sprained ankle. I think it was a hurting ankle. But the point is, I remember being like, my face is fine. And that is a basic Christian practice, is to look for the things you're not feeling right now, to thank the Lord for it. Like, do you have a nose? Do you is there sun? Are there leaves coming out? Is there, there's so much to be full of gratitude for.
For a moment in history to get locked into your house for a little while, you
is a good
actually
one.
have a lot of resources to learn how to do stuff
have you
still.
have you thought of what if you couldn't order anything online?
That has crossed my mind, and that caused me to panic just a little.
That would be, but I mean, that would be, like, that is such a luxury right now.
I know, but I was like, please tell me you're not going to shut down before I get my tiles for my backsplash. Because I need to be able to tile my backsplash. Anyways, but yes.
My
yes,
point.
it is
My
a luxury.
point is simply the
But it's
luxury of being able to communicate easily with lots of people if you needed something, and being able to, like, imagine having to send one of your kids out on horseback to try to rustle
I
up a
know.
neighbor.
And if you're feeling like, what am I going to do with myself? Make tortillas.
Oh, tortillas.
Learn to make a tortilla.
Mega, I keep seeing King Arthur because of the flour shortage. I keep seeing them. No, but it really makes me laugh. It's what an entitled, pig-headed people we are. People are on the Instagrams. King Arthur is like, since you're shut in, try making this glorious whatever. And then there will be all these comments of like, stop flaunting that some people have flour. Like, people are like, and I can't even buy it at a local store, you big losers. And you're like, you know what? Just absorb the beauty of the chocolate muffin and roll along, guys. Roll along. It just makes me laugh.
I know.
Why would you make this about you like that? It's
I know.
just the
I know.
worst, guys.
And the thing is, you probably have some flour in your cupboard. I hope you do.
You can find some. I know
and
you
if
can.
you do, I have, Rachel and I recorded a podcast the other day, and we decided it shouldn't see the light of day, so we're trying again today.
Yeah, this is our next one.
Yeah, so I already said this.
If you want to know why, we're not going to tell you why we canceled it.
No, we don't need to tell you why.
No.
You just be happy we didn't unleash it.
Just think that it would have been like that time your friend came over and you didn't have fun together.
Well, the thing is that I already said this on the deleted
Okay,
podcast.
I won't throw that in your face that I've heard it before.
Okay, all right. No, I decided, like, now's the time to get a handle on sourdough because I have never...
Have you got a bubbly going?
Oh, it's a going, yeah.
Are you feeding it now? Or is it still in the brouhaha
No,
phase?
we fed it yesterday. I decided I wasn't going to take any of Rachel's fancy sourdough starter.
I told you that
was
I
gonna
would give
do
it
it.
to you, but I think starting your own is actually
I
a
know.
way that you develop a relationship with
Yeah,
it, that you
and
care about it. You've been
I
looking
feel
at
like
it. Aren't
it's
you
the
looking at
cowboy
it?
way?
Yeah, but aren't you looking at it every day to be like, what's new
Oh,
with
and
you?
it's skunking up the
Yeah.
cupboard it's in. It does not smell delightful right now. It's definitely...
Okay.
We stuck it up in this little cupboard with some, the liquor cabinet stash.
I wouldn't have done that, but
Yeah,
I
we
put
did.
mine out where I could see it all the time, because then it's much easier to keep it.
You have a kitchen with counters, you fancy pants
Yeah, I
person.
like to flaunt that.
Anyway.
Becca, maybe you could get one of those white elephant gifts that I've seen a long time ago. The necklace that holds your wine glass. The necklace.
What?
It's like a necklace with a big wood plank.
Please
so that
say
you
no.
It was like a total 70s white. It was in a box. It was
no.
hilarious. It's like a man in a mustard turtleneck with this necklace with like a wood plank that has a place that you can set your wine glass, so you can hands-free your wine glass. You should get one of those for your sourdough starter, just to be really
Just
in tune.
so I can smell it all day. Oh, man.
Just so you can understand its every
know.
mood.
But I'm just saying, you guys, that I decided it, like, up till now, I make bread a lot, but sourdough was going to require too much of my mental space. It was like, I can't, the timing here is clearly
Well,
a
let me tell you
whole
something.
rigmarole.
I've told you, but I want to say it. I want to say it to people on the podcast who haven't done sourdough yet either.
Okay.
Is that it is, obviously I can still make things with commercial yeast, so I'm not trying to be
You're
like...
not too good for us?
Well, no, I'm not trying to say that you have to choose one or the other. Like, you
Right.
can obviously still do both in your life. But it is an alternate way
Yeah.
of dealing with bread. And so it is overwhelming when you are not doing it. And you look at it, it's a shockingly huge amount of shenanigans, right?
Well-
and I remember feeling like, who has time for this? I don't have time for this. But this is the part that I was going to say. It is so much more once you figure it out. And if you're like, Becca, quarantine is the perfect time to figure this out.
Exactly.
Once you figure it out, it's way, way more flexible. So once you feel like you have
Sure.
a knowledge of it,
Mhm.
with a regular commercial yeast bread, you can really kill your window of having had that be useful. Like if you have a bowl of dough rising and you're like, but I have to leave right now. And when it can be, you can really miss the window. With sourdough, you can be like, well, I'll put it in the fridge overnight and I'll come back to this tomorrow.
Yeah.
That's not always the case. You know,
I
you
just
can just
feel
keep
a
going.
little bit like, you know, I sat down with the tartine thing. I wrote it all out, how many steps. There's a lot of like, and then 3 hours later, and then 6 hours later, and then 30 minutes later, and then 18 hours later, and then a week later, and then rewind 7 hours. You should have gotten it out of the fridge by now. And then I was like, okay,
I just want to pause and say it's clear that Becca doesn't know the tartine recipe because none of those things happen. None of them.
Actually, it's totally not true. There's 2 different stretches of 3 to 6 hours and a 30-minute stretch in the middle.
Yeah, but that's not that. What you said was an exaggeration. For
I
those
never-
of you
I
who were
never
intimidated by what Becca just said,
exaggerate.
don't be intimidated.
I don't exaggerate.
I meant to send you a thing. I watched a video the other day. There's a guy, I feel like it's called Pro Home Cooks or something. Yeah, I think that's what it's called. But he does a video on 15 common mistakes with sourdough. But one of the things that he actually does that I was going to send to you is that he has downloadable, like, I don't know how I would describe it. Downloadable. It's like a time. It's like he wrote out a sourdough schedule around life schedules, so that if you have a 9-to-5 job but
That's
you want
the
to make
thing.
sourdough, or if you are a night owl and you want to be making sourdough, like when to start the process and how to work it around your schedule.
The part I disliked about I feel like I'm happy I'm getting this because I know I just have to do it for a little bit and then it'll feel very normal. But the part that was like, then you can put it in the fridge, but the next time you want to bake bread, get it out a week in advance and start feeding it again. And I was like, now see, I can't. If you're making it every day, then it makes sense. But
Oh yeah,
it
you're
said,
talking about the starter, not the dough. Yeah,
The leaven.
I keep the starter on the counter and
right,
feed
which
it every day.
which would work
Yeah.
for me if I'm making bread every day.
If I miss a day and feed it again, then you want to get it back up to a really hopping. Like if you missed a couple days and it gets that liquid on the top and it's kind of stank, then you stir it up and I need to feed it for a couple days to get it really excited again.
Yeah. Well, that's what it was saying. And I just was sort of like, I don't live a life where I plan a loaf of bread a week in advance. But anyway.
But that's what I meant by that sounds overwhelming if you're thinking
Yeah.
of it like it's a commercial starter thing.
Right.
But if you're not, if you're thinking of it like a different, very flexible thing that you always have
Right.
going on, it's very different.
Yeah. Well, anyway, I am trying to master the sourdough right now, and we are into the feeding
It's gonna
it
be a
every day
while
phase.
before you master it, because I remember thinking when I started, like, well, I'll give myself 5 years of doing this, and then maybe in 5 years I'll understand exactly what's happening with the dough. I don't know how many years it's been now. Probably
Not 5, because you.
probably 3, maybe, that I've
2.
been making it. No, we were on Sunnyside when I was making it.
Yeah.
So we're getting closer
3.
to 3. Anyways, the point with that is that even over this time, I'm trying sourdough on different methods still, because I feel like every new thing I do with it, the more I find out about it.
Anyway, I was. You're really critical of the way I speak of sourdough.
Actually, I'm not. I think it's that I think,
said the word master. That's what got us.
Oh, I was saying I don't have a mastery of this thing, and I've been doing
I'm
it for a long
joking.
time. What I
know.
actually meant, though, is that it is not uncommon for sourdough to have a panicky, overwhelming feeling to people who are not doing it, because when you look it up, there's a million different techniques for feeding it, for your scheduling, for how you build it up to make a loaf, and everybody does it a million different ways.
Well, this is why I was like, I just can't right now, because with my life and my schedule, it just wasn't going to slip in. So anyway, I'm doing that now, and I'm feeling kind of fancy because I've got a whole week ahead of me where I can get some stuff
it's
done.
so fun.
And I am going to sew some throw pillows that you know what I did? I was so proud of myself. my sewing machine was on the blink, and I hadn't had time. Like, my daughter wanted to sew, and we could not figure out what the matter was with it, and we took the thing apart, and it was like, I don't know what I'm looking at. And so then the other day it was like, hey, let's bring that thing down and let's actually get it figured out. And then we changed the light bulb that had been dead for like years. The light had been burned out. We got that fixed. And so anyway, I'm gonna get the sewing machine out. I'm gonna try and sew some throw pillows. I think I'm gonna try and finish upholstering a chair that's sitting there.
Episode that we threw away, did I say I was sewing napkins?
We talked about that. Yeah.
I have been sewing cloth napkins because I'm cleaning out the basement. Been sewing the cloth napkins with the fabric that's been in the stash for too long that I just always have kind of had. I'm like, well, what is this for? Are we going to use it or are we going to not use it? So made a bunch of cloth napkins. That's fun with my cheapy, quickie mitered corner technique that isn't technically a mitered corner. It's just a folded and smushed mitered corner.
It's really not hard to do a mitered corner, especially if you get into a little assembly line of them. You can do them like pretty fast.
Yeah, but it doesn't, that for my purposes, this works fine. I use my Dritz Easy Hemmer, which is a super thin metal ruler that you can just iron the fabric over on it, and you can see that you're hitting a 1/4 inch, so you can like put it on and then just iron. It's very handy. And then once I've ironed the 1/4 inch around, you cut a little angle cut on the corner and fold it down, and then because you have your 1/4 inch you fold it in on the diagonal. Because you have the 1/4 inch hem, you just fold both of those over and then fold it one more time, and it will line up like a mitered corner. So if you just smush it even with your fingers, when you get to that corner, you just pivot the needle and you have a nice, it's like a little origami fold. It works. And I know I've done other mitered corners, but I just this is
working for you.
Well, for the purposes, just cranking that out.
And I have some down pillows sitting there ready to have the cases made, and I hadn't gotten to it, and so I'm gonna do that. And I have some beautiful velvet from Anna Benham velvet.
Fun.
You guys I'm sure we've recommended it before, but she's a friend and she designs the most gorgeous stuff. Anyway, I have some of her velvet and a really funky town chair that I want to cover in that velvet. It's like a metal frame with just the seat in the back, so I might get to that this week. I planted a ton of seeds, and so I'm anxious to see those. We got the
brick around our fireplace finally done.
Yeah, and it looks so good.
And then we're doing some more brick in our kitchen to
where?
We're doing a chimney over the exhaust. We're just gonna do a brick to the ceiling chimney over the exhaust pipe.
Oh, fun!
Because we have the hood, and then we didn't pay for the cabinetry to cover all that up.
Cool.
It's like one of those cabinet pieces that, had you done it, would have been $12,000 or something. We're like, I think we can live without that right now.
I finished grouting. Well, I finished my tile in my little breakfast nook, and I was grouting it, feeling like this is the most satisfying thing. I love grouting a tile because you're just mashing the mud all into the cracks and just squidging it around. And
we also got tile for our backsplash, so we're really all in the same zone of getting the jobs.
This is what I mean about the double bounce on the trampoline. Like,
Lord willing, we'll have a double bounce.
I hope so.
Yeah.
This would be really fun. But the biggest thing is to double bounce your spirit.
Let's have it double bounce without the knee buckling.
Yeah.
And biting your own tongue as you crash hard femur. On the you're like, ka-chunk. Let's not do that.
No, and so I do think this is just such an opportunity for productivity and cheerfulness. And let's just say that it's a fun memory for your people.
It's a big opportunity to have your kids, like, there are just times when it's important to think about this. Maybe this will not be more than a little blippage in our rearview mirror later. Or maybe this will be significant. But either way, you have to think that your children, for the rest of their lives, will have this as some kind of a plot point and a mile marker. What happened You know, where were you? What was going on when
Yeah.
this happened? And kind of like, we're sinister people coming up here where we're parked. We're like, what are you doing? Why are you coming up here where we are? Anyways, just that for their whole lives, it's like, what was it like
Yeah.
when you had to be quarantined for that?
Yeah.
And we think of that because my Daphne just interviewed Grandpa Jim about stuff. And, you know, when he was like 18 months old, he had scarlet fever, right?
Yeah.
And he got quarantined. And while in quarantine, got diphtheria and measles.
Gosh.
And he was in it for a long time. He was stuck in the hospital without his family for a long time as a really little kid. And anyways, my point here is simply, you think, if your kids for their whole life are going to remember this, are they going to remember your faith in God and
Yeah.
your joy, and you're pointing them to being thankful and being, you know, instead of, then there was that whole time where my mom just had her face glued to the internet and was stressing and barking commands at us all,
Right.
and shutting the blinds
Yeah.
and being,
And we lived in a dim light.
and we were only allowed to eat Dinty Moore stew out of a can. And things were rough. We weren't
she
allowed
cried.
to laugh in those days.
She cried all
Yeah.
day.
She would call her friends and weep about the future. And when you think about the Proverbs 31
I
woman,
was
that
just
she
gonna say
laughs
that.
at the days to come.
Yeah.
Like, your goal is not to be wringing your hands over the present or weeping about the future. It is to be laughing and joyful and
also
trusting God.
Not like Proverbs 31 woman, she reaches out her hands to the poor, stretches out her hands to the needy. If there are people that need you right now, this is a great chance to be generous, open-handed, and brave, and not be like, I can't help you because you might have a germ.
I'm trying to keep an invisible barrier between
Right.
me and other people shopping for apples. Gotta make sure to not
thing
be
is,
a
like-
friendly encounter you had with a stranger at
I
the
know.
grocery store
Look
today.
for chances to be generous and open-handed and help, and maybe, like, honestly, right now in Moscow, the virus isn't here yet.
No, but I did when I was at the grocery store. I did make a point of thanking the people who are working there.
Yeah.
And just being like, man, how are you doing? What a time to be in the grocery business.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to be another grief in your
Yeah.
life right now.
Yeah. And
So-
so just, I think, honestly, be brave. I think there's a lot of people that need a good shot of bravery right now. And just
And fun.
jolliness.
I'm gonna go home today and
be
help.
jolly today.
We're going to finish warping the loom. Well, no, we're probably not going to finish. We're going to take the next step in warping the loom so Lena can do weaving this. Wants to be doing some weaving on this strange time when you're not in school.
I know. And so just have it be a time of fun and making the most of what you've got.
I have to say that the way you can have fun in this is through trusting God. Because it's very hard to have fun if you think you're the one pulling all the strings of your future safety and your and everything, your security and your safety, and you think it's all up to you. Then all of us would make horrific gods. We can't do any of this. We are way out of our depth of everything. I think it's much more fun to trust the Lord.
Yep.
So let's do it.
And we are in his hand all the time. It's just sometimes it becomes more evident to us
Right.
that we are in his
Sometimes-
hand.
Sometimes we get a shocking reminder that we are not in our own hands.
And the thing is, even if you were just coughing and fevering away and couldn't get out of bed because you've got the coronavirus, you still have to rejoice in the Lord, and you still have to be patient in suffering, and you still have to rejoice in the Lord always, and all of the things. You still have to behave like a Christian. So if you're still up and about in your house and you're not sick,
How much more so?
more? Yeah.
Yeah. How much more do you need to do it now?
Yep. So
So let's all do it. That's
let
the plan.
Let us do this thing, guys. Let's put on our game faces and be excellent.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. I like that. Just sort of maybe a t-shirt. Put on your game face and be excellent. Because there is no ESPN right now.
Because sports sleep sometimes, as it turns.
Commerce never dies except for when it does.
Oh,
All right. Well, you have a good, blessed, joyful time. And I was going to say, just as a random, this is a tip from me to you. So many of us are going to be having church live streamed tomorrow. Here's a tip. And this is what we're going to be doing in our house, is getting up and getting dressed for church.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Get up, get dressed for worship, show up to your service as people that are presenting themselves to worship the Lord, not slobbing around with popcorn in your jammy pants.
Well, it is.
I'm not saying you can't be in your jammies and listen to a sermon. My point is that I think that who knows? I mean, we don't know. So who knows how many weeks we're going to not be having a normal church time. And it is important to mark the day as a different kind of a day.
Sure.
And we're going to try to do that.
That's a good idea. It's been really a funny week because New St. Andrews just switched to online classes. So my kids who are at NSA, they've just been doing online classes and they're pushing ahead with all the material. But it is a startling time when yesterday I strolled into the kitchen in my bathrobe and I'm looking dead at Jemima's screen, the laptop screen, and I just was like, because I just sort of like wandered out with my hair in a floof and my bathrobe, and she's like, don't worry, the video's not on. She's just listening to her lecture, making oatmeal for herself in the kitchen, and she has her laptop there, so we were like, let's get some things straight. If your camera is on, you're going to sit over here. You may not
point it at the bathroom.
You're going to put it over here in this corner, and you're going to be there. But it's been kind of a fun, like, Belle's sitting on the couch, with her laptop doing her Latin class, and Jemima's doing a theology class at the dining room table, and I'm kind of getting to hear some of the lecture, which, I will throw this out. There was going to be a prospective student weekend, which obviously has been canceled, but they're gonna do you can just sign up to do a virtual tour essentially, and you can hear the lectures, and you can do that. So I would totally encourage you, if you've ever thought about doing a prospective student weekend, now you can do it without
airfare.
You can do it without traveling. And so if you have anybody in your house that's like just interested in what is NSA, and even if I think it's a great chance just to be able to get a taste for the classes and the faculty and what's going on. So I don't know the dates on that, but it's coming soon. So you should check that out on the New St. Andrews website. That's a fun idea.
Get your game faces on and be awesome.
Be excellent.
Excellent. Or awesome.
Game face on. Be excellent. Or awesome. Take your pick.
All right.
All right.
Until next time.
Have a good time. Bye.